All right, let's get started with growing our strength. So take it to a breathing position. Could be face up or face down, whatever is comfortable for you. Today, I'm going to go face up. Just take myself to the floor, a little micro adjusting of position through the neck, tucking my chin down, making sure I don't have a big arch in my back. I can just teeter my hips a little bit, feel my rib cage lined up with my hips. My legs are nice and loose. And here I go with some deep breathing in and out through the nose. Just trying to slow things down. Get a sense of a nice deep breath that fills up not only the front side, the sides, the back, the hips, the pelvis, the privates. And when you exhale, everything just recoils. Inhale, expand. Exhale, recoil. Just letting go of any tension you might be feeling in the neck and shoulders. Down into the hips and the legs. After your next breath cycle, take ourselves to hands and knees. Take the hands a little wider than the shoulders, knees a little wider than the hips, and let's start to round the back up. Gently go through some flexion and extension cycles. As you round up, just gently push the floor away. And let the head be heavy. Rolling through the back, dropping the chest to the floor, pulling the shoulder blades together a little bit as you gently look up. Just gift your back this movement. And taking the time to be here, give yourself a little virtual high five. Finding the middle ground of flexion and extension is a neutral back. Tucking the back toes. Just slowly bringing the opposite arm and leg off into a hold. So this would be about a half reach. You could go more fully by pushing through your heel, extending your back leg, taking your hand a little higher, perhaps rotating the palm in. I'm just going through alternating sides and suggest that you go to a extension that you feel comfortable holding and that you can control the rest of your posture. So as I come to 2 points of contact, I don't want to drop through my shoulder or tilt my hips. I want to be able to keep that nice neutral sort of core box between my shoulders, including my head, and down through my hips. If you find your shoulder collapsing or your head dropping, just work with a shorter range until you can control that and then start to reach out further, making sure that you don't hold your breath, because that would be a sign that you're working too hard. We'll go from here into frog rocks. So with the frog, I take the knees a little wider than the hips. The feet can be relaxed or you can turn them out. It just kind of changes how this feels as you sit your hips back to your heels. And one of my clients consulted a physiotherapist this past week about her squat, and the physio actually said, do frog rocks before you squat. So it is kind of a nice position to think of a squat on the floor. As you sit your hips back to your heels, you want to try and practice keeping your back neutral and going to a depth with your hips that you don't round your back or go into a big arch. And this would be similar to when you're squatting in the standing position. You don't want to change the position of your back, particularly under load. Okay, so I use this as a nice warm-up for the squat as well as for the hips. I bias over to the right side and come back and weight shift into my hands, and then over to the left side, so you get some stretch response in your inner thighs. You're kind of creating some space through your hips. And again, just try to watch that you're not rounding the upper back as you sit back. You want to keep that back neutral and shift your weight back over to one side, not going into a flexed position as you go through this a few more times. One other thing I like to do if I come back to center, so I'm just shifting the weight center, is to gently turn and look over my shoulder, mobilizing my neck, letting my vision improve my neck mobility by just being curious as I look side to side. Nice deep breathing, a few more times each way, not forcing anything through the neck, but hey, that motion is lotion comes to mind. We definitely want to keep and improve our neck mobility for safety. All right, so from here we'll go onto our backs and we'll go through some knee bends and some ankle work. Generally speaking, my favorite part of the class. So I just like to lie and adjust my posture. My non-working leg can be straight or bent if that feels better on your back. And I'm going to start with some knee hugs. Just chin tuck, kind of get everything adjusted through my torso, and then fully pushing the heel to the roof. So here's my knee hug, and then a full extension, not locking the back of the knee, and backing the leg off to a place where you can get all of the tissues here at length. So if you're quite tight and you're here, then just back off and find that place of full extension, pushing the heel to the roof, maybe spreading the toes and pulling the toes towards your shin. From here, you can hold the legs straight, start to open up the ankle, point the toes to the roof, pull the toes to the shin. About 5 of these moves, trying to have a little stop at your end range. And keep working on our ankle mobility. Here's the ankle rolls. Sole of the foot comes in and out. And you can change the angle. You can point the toes up to the roof, spreading the toes, or pull the toes back down. Lots of different positions, trying to keep the legs still. And then here I'll go a couple of slow circles with painting a big circle with my toes in circles in each direction, and then we'll switch sides. Okay, so switching up, you need to realign the posture, shoulders, chin tuck, and into those knee hugs. How does this side compare to the other? Sometimes we hold more tension on one side of our body than others. We've got old injuries. We're prone to some movement habits. I just work on achieving some balance through this kind of work, taking the time to mobilize the joints, pointing the toes, flex the ankle. Same kind of routine we did on the other side. Taking it into the ankle rolls, different angles. Can you see why I like this part of the class? It's very relaxing. And some good circles. Okay. So I'm just going to take some time to do a little hip stretch this morning. So take one ankle and cross it over the opposite knee, and then just be aware that this position can affect your pelvis and low back. You could gently take your hand and push your thigh away So right now I've got my right ankle crossed over and I'm stretching my right hip. If I was to pull my heel in a little closer, my left heel, that might give me a slightly different angle to stretch the hip. And I'm just going to go through a few breath cycles, trying to keep everything sort of aligned so I'm not pushing and twisting my low back. Going back to the posture and the breath, just a little head roll side to side, chin tuck. And as I stretch, I'm just trying to send the message, okay, I can let the muscles in the hip relax. One of the students is having a little sensation in the hip, feels a little tight. So just take some time to stretch out for her before we progress. So we'll switch sides. And so again, I cross over, test the waters. How does this side feel? Do I need to pull the heel that's on the floor a little closer to my hip? And I'm getting quite an effective stretch here by just gently using my hand to push my knee away a little bit. Take some breath cycles. See how that's feeling. I have the microphone on and my stomach grumbles. I'm often wondering if you can hear my various sounds. Anyway, I'll just have to assume that maybe you didn't hear that. Okay, now we're going to go to side lying hip cars. So slightly rolled forward with this top hip. My knees and feet are stacked. Bottom arm supporting my head. And then I'm just going to slowly take my top leg off the bottom leg, come through a nice slow rotation, not going through any pain or clicking. If so, you're making your rotation smaller. Nice deep nasal breathing as you go through about 2 circles and just trying to keep the feet relaxed, exploring the hip mobility. Reverse direction, can feel a little activation of my hip muscles. Nice. A couple circles in each direction, then we'll switch sides. Refine that position. Reverse direction. Nice. Okay, so good hip mobilization. We'll take this into some double bridges, and we'll do this with a combination of single leg if you wish. So to set up my double bridge, I've got my feet right in front of the hips. Okay, I'm teetering my back, making sure I don't have a big arch of my back to bridge up into. I'm adjusting that chin tuck. As I lift the hips into extension, I want to activate the hip muscles and bring them back down. Now, if you come up to where you roughly feel a line between the middle of your knee, middle of your hip, and your armpit, that would be full hip extension. This is not full hip extension, still too much angle there. If I go higher than this, that's going to be into my low back. So you don't want to be going higher either. So find that sweet spot. You can do about 5 double bridges and either stick with the double bridges or then take one leg off. I like to grab onto the back of my thigh and I take my other arm across my rib cage so that as I bridge up, I'm just aware that I'm not extending into my back, flaring my rib cage. So I come up, feel that activation through my hip, down, release. These rep ranges are just approximate. If you want to work a little bit more with the reps, you could certainly just take it upon yourself to increase the number that you're doing. And if for some reason the single leg bridge is still not feeling good for you, then just stick with more of the 2-foot double bridge. Next, we go to a bear hold or a plank on the floor. For those of you that want to do a standing version, you would take it over to a wall and do a wall plank. On the floor, I'm going to do both a bear and a full plank. So first I find my connection with my hands, slight bend in my elbows, and I feel connected through my shoulders. My neck is neutral, my back is neutral as well. My neutral, not flexed and not overextended, somewhere in the middle. Tuck the back toes and float those knees off the floor. And then here, I'm just trying to re-find a nice deep diaphragmatic breath. 3 to 5 breath cycles. Things to be aware of. Are you taking the weight through your fingers? Nice flat hands, not just loading the base of your wrists. Okay, after your 3 to 5 breath cycles, you can take a moment to stretch out your wrists. Option to step back into a high arm plank. Same setup, and then step back, activating the hip muscles. Trying not to let the back sag down, a little activation of the hips, pushing the floor away. There's my nice deep breath. And coming out of this, we'll go to a seated row. And in this program, I've been showing the option where you set yourself up for a pull with both hands, so like a double, finishing the elbows at the sides and working the tension so you feel some connection through your shoulder blades. So you do a double, nice and tall in your sit bones, and then try a single arm. And as you're doing the single arm, try not to rotate, just stay nice and tall, and go through about 5 rounds of this where you're doing a double and then a single. I like the idea of changing the angles so you could pull your elbows a little wider for some of these reps or come closer to your hips. I just don't want to see people going too far back with their elbow so that they internally rotate their shoulder sockets. So just keep that in mind, have the tension working for you. Looks great. Now the last exercise in this set is the McGill hold. This is an option to take your head off the floor or not. So if your neck is sensitive at all, I'm going to keep your head on the floor, tuck your chin. Set your torso by finding that connection. Where do you need to teeter your back to so you feel the muscles through your torso activate? From here, you can just lift your foot about 1 inch off the floor and breathe. Now, if you don't have a sensitive neck, you could try to lightly support your head and bring your forehead and your sternum off the floor as well, getting a little bit more connection to feel this work while you're breathing. You can go with the 3 to 5 breath cycle length of time, and then just release the head and foot and take some time to switch your top knee. Now, if you've been doing this for a while, you might be able to try versions where your hands are at your sides, so you're not supporting your neck at all. Maybe you hold for a little bit less time with that. You can put your tongue loosely on the top of your mouth, just pressing your tongue as you come up. Can't do that and talk at the same time. Let's go switch sides and do this one more time per side. But that helps to set the deep neck muscles, just that light positioning of the tongue. It actually feels quite nice to do that with my tongue and on my neck when I'm not supporting. How much support you give yourself is also a factor, right? You can really lace your hands and really support your head as you gently lift off. Just be mindful you're not bringing your neck up like this and into a lot of flexion. You want to try and keep everything neutral. This part of your body's working. No stress. Okay, so we'll go from here back through one more set, have the double bridges, or the option to go with the single. I'm going to do 5 double bridges and then 5 singles. Opening up my toes, connecting with my feet as I bridge up. Lots of cues. I could think about pushing my knees that way towards my fireplace. It'll give me a nice length to the front side of my thighs and the front of my hip. The same with the single leg. Just taking a little moment at the top of each hip extension here. There you go. Feel the work. Come down, release. Gift your hips. Excellent. Okay, keep it moving right into our bear holds or planks. If you prefer to make it a little harder, you could go with just the plank. Take some time, set up your position. When you're ready, tuck the toes, float the knees off. Nice solid connection as you breathe. Be mindful of how this is feeling through your hands. Give yourself an opportunity to stretch them or deload them. Reset and step back into your high arm plank. Three to 5 breath cycles, and then into the row. That looks great. Okay, so setting myself up for success, nice and tall. Check the tension. Oh, it feels good. Single. Looking straight ahead. Oh, 5 cycles. Nice. And we'll go back to the McGill holds, taking some time to challenge yourself. I was thinking a couple years ago, I was at a strength conference, and the strength and conditioning coaches for the Toronto Blue Jays were there talking about the exercises that the baseball players do, and how they do these exercises that would be considered to be not too sexy, like this one, and taking the time to keep the basic core exercises fundamental in your training program. We all need this. Maybe they're not quite as thrilling as some other exercises, but finding the version, whether you're supporting your head, tongue on the roof of the mouth, review the things you're giving yourself, your core box, some time under tension. There's no stress into the low back. So these exercises are still done by the professional athletes, and we're all athletes of sorts. So I kind of like that feeling of, I don't know, finding the right exercises that were working for you in your core and doing them on a regular basis and making sure that your capacity is there so you don't get injured. As soon as we ask something of our bodies that's over our capacity, open that door for injury. Okay, enough about that, but that was kind of fun thinking about that. All right, we're going to come to standing. We're going to start with just checking our body weight squat and some balance reaches. So body weight squat, taking some time to connect your feet to the floor, whether you're wearing shoes or not. Your feet can be hip width or wider, toes can be straight or turned out. You want to think about that movement as you pull yourself down into your squat. Now, remember what I said with the frog, right? The frog, we're hinging down, hips go back, hips go down in the squat, knees can go forward, but you don't want to have any movement in through your back as you squat. taking some time to pull yourself down to a depth you can control as you breathe in, and then exhale as you come up. All right, after some body weight squats, we'll take it into some body weight balance reaches, extending the arms forward and the heel back to the wall behind you. This balance work is just a practice, taking some time to set up your foot, perhaps rolling the foot side to side, opening up the toes, get that connection. I like to take a breath in as I reach, because that breath creates some intra-abdominal pressure or connection. Now I'm talking through this, but I'm keeping a little bit of connection through my body as I hinge. So that's going to help keep me more stable. And then I just come back up to standing. I love using feedback from a piece of furniture, because then you can tell whether or not you're level in your shoulders and leveling in your hips. It's like this leg is going back to the wall behind you. You can take your fingers off the furniture, re-breathe in, and then bring yourself back up to standing. Let's go through these again with weight. If you want to add weight to your squat, sweater's got to come off. Weather's getting a little better. Don't have the fireplace on, no sweaters. All right, adjust the tights. What am I going to squat today? I'm going to grab 2 dumbbells. Rep range, let's go with 8. And just take some time to find a position for your feet again. Dumbbells come up to my shoulders. If I just had 1 dumbbell, I could hold it in the center, or a kettlebell. And here I go, taking some time to go through those same cues. Breathing in, pulling myself down to a depth that I can control. If something didn't feel right here, especially with the load, you want to put the load down and try and figure that out. Making some changes. That looks good. Okay, now for the balance reaches, I'm going to take an opportunity to hold one weight, and instead of reaching out like we did in the warm-up, I'm just going to find my foot connection and hinge to a depth I can control with weight. Now, if this feels too challenging, you're not ready for the weight, then just put the weight down and go back to what we did in the previous set. I'm going to alternate the foot that I'm balancing on. I'm only going to a depth that I can control, and some of you might find a difference in that when you have the weight. Changes a lot of things through the center of gravity. One thing I see, and I don't want to demonstrate it with the weight, but hinging and rounding into the back, right? You want that back tailbone to tip of the head be moving in neutral. And this is just grooving things that are going on inside your body, your hip mobility, your core strength, your balance. So it comes with more practice that things, I guess, look better externally, but really it's as a result of the neurology and the biology on the inside. So stick-to-itiveness, a little consistency will go a long way. So let's go to push-ups next, and then into overhead press. So push-ups can be off a wall or an elevated surface. Because push-ups are 55% of your body weight, they are difficult if you haven't got the strength practice to a full push-up yet. You have to find variations. So the plank that we did in the beginning is a variation. A little dip would be a variation. And what about just a slow lower to the floor without pushing back up? I can come onto my knees, right? Placing the hands and how wide you go. It's all very individual, because your arms, your levers between your elbow and hands and elbow and shoulder are different. So really it takes some practice to find the right position that you feel works well for you with a push-up. Once you have a push-up, you never want to lose it, is what I like to think. So a couple of push-up practice. You know your number, you start to build, you know you can do 5 well, maybe take a short break and do another 1 or 2 and see if you can keep improving that number. Now for the overhead press, I'm doing this from standing. I'm just taking some time to find neutral posture, making sure that I'm not hyperextended in my knees. So just float my weight over my feet, and I'm taking the weight to the rack position on one shoulder and then slowly opening up and pressing overhead. Now, depending on the health of your shoulder, if this hurt in any way, you wouldn't want to press load. What's your strength in the overhead position? Do you feel like you have to lean to the side or back to get it overhead? You certainly want to gain control of weights with good posture. So if you are making any of those compensations, then try to decrease the weight or just groove the shoulder a little better with mobility drills, etc., before you start adding load. The width of your feet can affect how the press feels overhead. I generally like to go hip width for a straight overhead press, although some people feel that they can go a little wider. Certainly when you're practicing kettlebells, there's some factors with that if you're doing sequences. So just have a sense of connecting down, rooting through your feet as you press overhead and pull back down. Got a nice little shelf I'm creating here. I'm not all sloppy in my shoulder. It's just a light amount of connection, and then I'm pressing away from that connection, and then I'm pulling back down. It just feels really awesome to get that underarm kind of feeling. Okay, so let's go through this again. We started with the squats, and you're modifying the rep range and the weight based on how you're feeling. Taking your time to add the breath can add an element of safety, right? As you breathe in, nice and deep, creates that intra-abdominal pressure. Exhale as you come up, blow all the air out. You don't have to exaggerate it like that, but I do think sometimes there's value in just going slow and coordinating this pace with your breath. Either the body weight balance reaches or into your single leg. Hinging, coming back up to posture. I'm going to do 3 on one side and then switch. Thinking about my shoulder blades and not rounding my back as I tip over, hinge over. Just taking my time, inhaling as I hinge, exhaling as I come up. Give myself that opportunity for a bit more stability. Good. And then finding the progression of a wall push-up, how far your feet are from the wall or furniture is going to make it harder. You still find your plank position, pull yourself in, create that connection and tension as you push away. Finding a progression or 2, right? You could do a few push-ups like I just did at the wall, come to the floor, hold the plank, maybe try the lower. Put a big pillow underneath your front side to catch you. Just finding those variations that work for you. Now to the overhead press, about 5 per side. Create that shelf, press away. pull back down. This weight is in my wheelhouse, so I've got some freedom of where I can open up to. If this was a max press, like it was very, very hard, I might want to go a little closer to my ear. But may just open and feel good on the shoulder, and then pull back down, bring it back to the rack position. Switching sides. Great job. Okay, static lunge is next. We're going for 6 per side. And so I'm going to take 2 weights, split my stance. So take one leg back, anchor in my toes. I can drop the back knee a little or a lot. I could do this body weight or loaded. I can also hinge forward a little bit and challenge my strength through my knee and thigh. And just coming up and down. Modifying those reps based on how that's feeling. Switching the front leg, what's going on in the foot. Want to connect that front foot as you come down the knee tracks over the middle of the foot, so be mindful that you're not collapsing in. Work to a depth you can control. It comes with practice. Sometimes we need shoes to support ourselves with these kind of moves because your foot just naturally doesn't have enough control. Could be ankle stuff, knee stuff, hip stuff, but I tend to do my home training in bare feet. But certainly don't hesitate to put the shoes on if you think that that's going to give you more support. Okay, band walks are next. So if you have a loop band and you'd like to try the band walks with the added resistance, you just slip that on above your knees. And let's see, 2-way. So in a slight hinge position. And as I go and step to the side, I'm keeping a little tension through the band. Okay, and be mindful that your hips are level, so you're not hiking up and stepping out. I'm just trying to add the arms in a reciprocal pattern. I'm keeping a distance between my knees as I step. Distance, distance, and back. Okay. Changing it up to a forward and back, or in this case, a back and forward. Okay, again, I'm taking some time to make sure I don't hike my hip. I'm stepping back. I can feel my hip muscles step forward, keeping enough width between my feet that I still have some work going on to keep the knees from coming together. So going this way, I'm not collapsing in like a little monster walk, trying to get those arms in. And this is successfully giving me some heat in both the hips. So mission accomplished. All right, now we're going to go to a deadlift or hinge movement. You've got some options depending on where you are in the hinge practice. So some dumbbells on my thighs, the hip hinge, the hips go back. As you breathe in, back is neutral. Exhale, coming up to standing. Inhale back. Exhale up. Okay, if this move is new to you and you're like, what? It's the difference is that the knees bend, but they don't go forward like in a squat. So you want it to be hip driven, keeping a nice neutral back. Whether or not you do the dumbbell hinge or take something heavier and start to progress heavier lifting, whether you elevate from the floor surface or just go below knee height. If you're lifting from the floor, sometimes if you're tall and you're new to this, you don't have the hip range to get back, you might want to elevate for safety. But whatever you do, you want your hinge to feel good, not feel it put stress on your back, and anchoring in the shoulders, taking a breath in and coming up to posture. So in this standing position, I'm not going too far back and I'm not hyperextending my knees. See the difference? So I'm not locking out at the top. I'm trying to find this position that floats the weight over my feet and challenges my hips to get stronger. Here's where the work happens, and here's the lower. I just love talking about hip hinging and the difference between that and squats, because the hip hinge is the basis of getting really strong through deadlifting, and also, did I hear kettlebell swings and kettlebell work, which is another part of my practice that I really enjoy. Okay, so in place hand transfer. So we're going to finish up today by picking up something and holding it at the side of the body for about 3 breath cycles. So here's a 10-kilogram kettlebell, and I'm thinking about my feet. I'm floating that weight. Check my knees. I'm not leaning into this weight, and I'm trying not to over grip. I feel a connection through my shoulder. Breathing nice and deep. And to put this weight down safely, I'm going to do that hip hinge. So I'm going to sit my hips back, place the bell on the floor, and go to the other side. Now, you might have been able to just do a hand transfer because your weight isn't so heavy that it is challenging you to do that. Let's do this 2 times per side, so 3 full breath cycles. And I talked about working weights. Here's a 16-kilogram kettlebell, and this is exactly the same technique that you would do holding 5 or 10 pounds. Now the opposite side of my core is working really hard not to give in to the gravity. Try to put that down carefully. Square shoulders, so I'm not twisting. Lift up, own it with the breath. Go through the checklist. Very functional way of training the core. Okay, so if you'd like to do more of this kind of training in this training session, just rewind the tape and do a couple more sets. Otherwise, be happy with what you did today. I think the trainer in me, maybe 15, 20 years ago, I would have the training program and I had to get through it and I had to get through the sets. And I felt unsuccessful, perhaps, if I didn't. It was just the way that I had been trained and thought. Now it seems like I'm really enjoying taking the time to warm my body up, to get ready to train. So the joint mobility, the hip circles, etc. And then just be good with whatever you loaded. Like we just did a great strength training session. If you didn't get 3 sets of something in or this or that, it doesn't matter. You did really good work for 45 minutes. Pat yourself on the back and carry on with your day. Thank you so much for building a stronger version of yourself with me today. I look forward to seeing you again sometime soon.